Have you noticed something strange about Formula One lately? For months, teams, engineers, and manufacturers have been preparing for the biggest rule reset in a generation. The 2026 power unit regulations were supposed to define the future of the sport. They were marketed as the perfect balance between sustainability, performance, and competition. But now, before those regulations have even fully arrived, the FIA has already approved major changes for 2027. And that raises one uncomfortable question. What exactly went wrong? Because governing bodies do not rewrite engine regulations this quickly unless a serious problem has been identified. Today, we're going to uncover why the FIA suddenly changed course, which teams stand to benefit the most, which manufacturers are quietly worried behind closed doors, and why this decision could reshape the entire competitive order of Formula One. Stay until the end, because the final detail explains why several teams pushed for these changes far earlier than the FIA wanted to admit. Before we begin, let me know your prediction in the comments. Which team gains the most from these new engine rules? Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ford, Audi, Honda, or Cadillac? And if you enjoy deep Formula One analysis, make sure to like the video and subscribe because we break down the stories that most fans never hear about. Let's get into it. For years, Formula One has been preparing for the 2026 power unit era. The plan seemed simple. Increase electrical power, reduce dependence on traditional fuel, make the sport more attractive to new manufacturers. On paper, it sounded like a win for everyone. Audi committed to Formula One, Honda reversed its departure plans. Ford partnered with Red Bull. Cadillac began preparing for its entry. The future looked secure. But as development intensified, concerns started emerging from inside the paddock. Manufacturers discovered that the balance between electric power and combustion power wasn't as straightforward as expected. Simulations began revealing scenarios that nobody wanted to see. Cars could run out of usable electrical energy on long straights. Drivers might be forced into energy management modes far more aggressively than before. Some engineers even warned that future races could become less about outright speed and more about energy conservation. That is not what Formula One wants. The sport sells itself as the pinnacle of motorsport. Fans expect drivers to push flat out. They do not want to watch competitors lifting off the throttle simply because the battery system cannot keep up. And that concern became impossible to ignore. Behind the scenes, manufacturers started discussing possible adjustments. The FIA initially defended the regulations. After all, years of planning had gone into the project. Changing direction would mean admitting that certain assumptions may not have been correct. But the pressure continued building. As more simulations arrived and development programs advanced, the governing body faced a difficult reality. The regulations looked good on paper. The challenge was what happened when those regulations met the real world. That is why the FIA has now approved significant changes for 2027. The goal is simple. Protect racing quality, maintain manufacturer interest, avoid creating a formula that rewards energy saving more than racing. And that objective matters more than many people realize, because Formula One is entering one of the most competitive manufacturer eras in modern history. Mercedes wants to remain the benchmark, Ferrari wants to return to championship-winning dominance. Audi wants to arrive and immediately challenge the established order. Honda wants to prove its success with Red Bull was no accident. Ford wants to make a statement through its partnership. Cadillac wants credibility from day one. The FIA cannot afford regulations that discourage investment. If manufacturers lose confidence, the long-term health of the championship suffers. That explains why these changes are being made so early. The governing body wants stability before uncertainty becomes a crisis. Now let's talk about who could benefit the most. Ferrari may be one of the biggest winners. Why? Because Ferrari has historically excelled when regulations settle into a more predictable development path. The team possesses enormous engineering resources and decades of power unit experience. Any move that reduces uncertainty can strengthen Ferrari's position. Mercedes could also benefit. Few organizations understand hybrid power units better than Mercedes. Whenever regulations evolve, the Brackley team usually adapts faster than most rivals. Then there is Audi. This is where things become fascinating. Audi entered Formula One believing it understood the future regulatory direction. Any adjustment forces the German manufacturer to reassess parts of its development strategy. That does not automatically hurt Audi, but it introduces variables that every new entrant would rather avoid. And whenever uncertainty enters the equation, established teams gain an advantage. Honda faces a similar challenge. The Japanese manufacturer has invested heavily in preparation for the next era. Any shift requires additional evaluation and development work. The same applies to Red Bull Ford. Their entire future project depends on producing a competitive power unit under a brand new structure. Every regulatory adjustment changes the target. And changing targets during development is rarely ideal. This is why the reaction across the paddock has been so interesting. Publicly, teams support the FIA's effort to improve the regulations. Privately, every manufacturer is calculating something different. Some see opportunity, others see risk. And that brings us to the most important point of all. This decision is not really about 2027. It is about confidence. The FIA wants teams, manufacturers, sponsors and fans to believe that Formula One remains proactive. Ignoring concerns would have been far more dangerous. By acting now, the governing body is sending a message. If a problem appears, it will be addressed. If racing quality is threatened, adjustments will be made. And if the future of the sport requires flexibility, flexibility will happen. That may be the biggest takeaway from this entire story. The FIA is effectively acknowledging that perfect regulations do not exist. What matters is identifying weaknesses before they become disasters. And that is exactly what appears to be happening here. The next 2 years will reveal whether these changes achieve their intended goal. But one thing is already clear. The battle for Formula One's future has begun long before the first 2026 car even reaches the starting grid. The manufacturers are preparing, the engineers are adapting, the FIA is adjusting, and the championship's next era may look very different from what was originally planned. Now, I want to hear from you. Did the FIA make the right decision by changing the rules early, or should they have waited and let the original regulations prove themselves first? Leave your answer in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the biggest stories shaping the future of Formula One. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.